What's up, guys? So this video is all about support.com and why it could be the next GameStop. We're going to cover the business case, the short interest case, and how far could it actually go. And I'm going to keep this brief. So the business case is really about the fact that support.com used to be a remote support services company, but is merging with a company called Greenwich, which is a vertically integrated, which is a fancy way of saying they do all their stuff, meaning they produce their own energy and produce their own Bitcoin. They are a vertically integrated Bitcoin company. They have a really, really low cost of Bitcoin production. They quoted two figures in their presentation, something like 2,700, 2,800 per Bitcoin, which is ridiculously low, and then minus 360. And I'm not sure how they've come up with that. I think that's because they produce excess energy at the moment, something like that. Nevertheless, the point being is it's a really low cost of production for their Bitcoin. And as a result, they are quoting something like 50 million EBITDA this year, huge. And then more compelling, 160 million EBITDA run rate next year, which would put them into the ballpark of the biggest Bitcoin companies around a market cap of about 3 to 5 billion. With a hash rate of around 1.1 and one of the lowest, if not the lowest, cost of production. What support.com did before doesn't really matter. It's a merger, and the point of the merger is that Greenwich is using support.com, from what I can see anyway, as a vehicle to get a listing, and support has about 30 million in cash. So they're using it as a vehicle for a listing, get some cash out of it, but ultimately it's about Greenwich and what they do as a business. So the business case is compelling. Now, in terms of the short interest, this is what makes this a potentially a true GameStop play. The short interest, based on data from Ortex, which is a pretty reliable source, is over 70%. That is nuts. And the free float is something like 8 to 10 million shares. So it is tiny. The interesting point here, the really interesting point beyond that, is the fact that the merger that I just referred to was announced in end of March. And the short interest at that point was nothing. The moment the merger was announced, the share price went nuts. It went something like 300-400% to around $10, something like that. The short interest increased massively. So these big players shorted the crap out of the share when it shot up. And the short interest, and so as a result of the short interest, the share price then crashed to around 2.5 as a low around May, I think. The short interest has increased ever since. The share price has also steadily been increasing from that low of 2.5 as more and more people realize there is a compelling business case here and the short interest is so high, and it just keeps growing. And so what's happened over the last week or so is we've reached a kind of a pivot point where, because a lot of those shorts were placed at the previous high of March, which was around $8 to $10, those short interests are now must be underwater. So the moment we went over 10, it's become a next phase of this. And this is similar to what happened to GameStop when I think they were in that maybe 10 to 20 range as well. So while there's been a big move up from 2.5 to 14, as you can see on the chart, potentially this is just the first phase of a second and maybe a third phase to come. So with that in mind, how far could this go? Well, we've talked about a business case which is compelling, and there's some good fundamentals behind this. We've talked about the short interest being very high and the free float being very low. How far could it go? Let's use the long-term chart just as an indicator, because I think a lot of people are going to be looking at resistance levels here. The first obvious resistance level was 10, which we've surpassed now. The next is 18, around 18. The next would be around 45, and the next one would be in the 80 to 100 range. I don't think personally you're going to see 400 to 500 on something like this, but who knows? I think given that we're at 14 as I make this video, 18 seems bang on, and 45 seems like it's got a good chance given that the short interest is still so high. Above that, at 80 to 100, who knows if that's possible? And as I said, I don't think you're necessarily going to see numbers above that. The thing with GameStop is it kind of brought this to attention. So I think the shorters are aware now, and they will probably move faster. So I'm not sure that you're going to be able to see this move into 400. But where we are now at 14, and given the short interest is still so high, 18 seems on and 45 seems like a good chance of as well. Now, all of this being said, none of this is financial advice. This is all very, very risky stuff. The business case is compelling, but there's risk in all of this stuff. The merger hasn't been finalized. We don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. These are two huge things. Imagine the merger falls through. Imagine Bitcoin crashes. This share price would come down for sure. So please bear this in mind and just use this as kind of entertainment and a bit of information. If you're interested, do your own research. And in the spirit of honesty and openness, I've only taken 2 small positions. I bought 100 shares and I took one option out of 100 shares as well. I bought the 100 shares at around 9.3 and I took out options at 14, a little high. I plan to take out options last week at around 8, but because I live in the UK, it's a pain in the backside trying to open options accounts. And so I spent the last week doing a hell of a lot of research on options accounts. I'm actually going to link a video on how you can open an options account and what the options are if you are based in the UK. If you're interested in that, check out the video which is linked at the end of this. I put some links below in terms of the key providers that you can go to and a currency exchange site which is really, really good value as well. So please do check out those links. In short, your options are basically, if you're in the UK, are Interactive Brokers, Tastyworks. If you're using Tastyworks, you need to use Currencyfair to transfer funds to the US. Interactive Brokers is a bit of a pain in the ass, but have a UK bank account, so it's same-day transactions. That's what you need to do if you're options. If you're buying shares, I'd suggest you check out a company called Free Trade. Free Trade is a version of Robinhood in that you can trade for free. It's got a pretty nice, clean platform as well. So yeah, it's a good way to buy shares and small amounts without having to pay 10 to 12 pounds a share trade, which some of the bigger providers actually make you do. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please do subscribe. Please do like the video. It would really help out a lot. This whole channel is going to be about personal finance, career, work, job, investing, growing, and passive income, and some of the other kind of cool stuff around this, like, for example, options trading, spread betting in the UK, sports betting, all that kind of stuff. That interests you, please do like, subscribe, notify. Thanks for watching.